to social issues that help working class families. And I think that's what's most important to them. And I think that when you look at the resistance, I think that many of the people they embrace, especially on this Russia scandal, is incredibly dangerous to the Democratic Party.
I think
people like
the Republicans are kind of doing the same thing. I think the right is also kind of embracing the wrong group of people in the name of Donald Trump. I mean, just rewinding a little bit, I guess.
Here's the thing with that, though. The media portrays the Trump phenomenon as if it's a tiny sector of Republicans, and then there's this never Trump group of Republicans. But it's in reality, it is not.
I don't think it's a never Trump group of Republicans.
But there are a few Republicans that are like never Trump that you consistently see on your television screen.
I think Donald Trump has like a 11% approval rating among Democrats in the United States. It's like above 90% in the Republican Party.
So this is my point here: is that
I think the Democrats are considered This is what I see. I think you see roughly 30% of Democrats. No, more than. I mean, you see roughly the majority of Democrats, right? Or roughly 30% of the country. I mean, that's 100% never Trump. 100%. No matter what he does, I don't approve.
I would say that. Did you say 30%? I would 30%. Say that number is much bigger, at least for registered Democrats. And I'm talking about registered Republicans when I'm talking about Donald Trump.
And I'm thinking roughly the same number, whatever it is always Trump. No matter what he does, I trust him. I approve of it. I love it. And I think there are zero Democrats that identify in the middle, and I think there are a decent amount of Republicans that identify with sometimes Trump. I don't approve of character. I don't approve of the affairs, but I approve of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I approve of the embassy moving to Jerusalem. I approve of policy. I don't approve of character.
Okay, here's where I disagree with you there. Trump's base, I think the media portrays it as it's, where do these people come from, Trump's base is the Republican base. When you have numbers such as...
I disagree.
When you have numbers such as 95% that are in favor of President Trump...
Because I think they're in favor of policy. I mean,
But they're in favor... But, exactly, they're Trump's base. They're never going to leave him. They're never going to leave and vote.
I disagree with that.
I don't think 95% of the Republican Party is identifying with this always Trump mentality.
I think they're always Republican mentality.
I think they're identifying, I like these conservative policies. This is a conservative president. I don't care about his character.
Yeah, look, you could throw anyone in office, and a lot of people will still vote Republican. I mean, we've seen that with Trump. This figurehead, this orange-headed fool that they throw into office. And many Americans have gone back and backed him up easily just because they're Republican. And that's one of the problems that I see is existential within our society, is that we just continue to support one person that's supposed to have so much power in our country just because he's in a specific party. And while I like parties to be as a way to organize our politics and a way to identify yourself and express, a way to have other people express your ideas within them, I think that there's a problem when we put a guy into place to represent a party and he doesn't do his job. And then the party keeps adjusting year after, like a guy like Paul Ryan wouldn't have agreed with Trump like 4 years ago when he was going to be the vice president of the United States.
Yeah. I think the two parties have created this herd mentality, whether it's you're with us or you're against us. I see this on both sides. I mean, when you look at the Democratic Party and the resistance, like I was saying, they're embracing figures that they wouldn't have embraced 10, 15 years ago. Not Alexandria.
Ocasio-Cortez. She needs to simplify her name.
It's just 3 words.
AOP?
It's a little hard.
Create an acronym or something. I don't know. But not somebody like that. I'm talking about people like James Comey, a lifelong Republican, right? Bill Kristol, who is a lifelong Republican, a part of the Bush.
Voice of Mike Wazowski?
No, it's Kristol. Bill Kristol.
Anyway, go on.
So Bill Kristol
With one eye.
was somebody who was fervently for the Iraq War and has never met a war that he doesn't love. Right? People like that, right? That are these never Trump Republicans that always speak out against Donald Trump, right? But they don't represent our values. They're just voting Democrat to either to gain publicity and to gain views, or because they're that self-indulgent that they'll do that.
Part of that is because Trump doesn't necessarily represent the traditional Republican values. Could you agree with that? Like, you might say that they're doing it just to say, okay, I don't want Trump.
I think
in office,
there's
screw
only
Trump,
I think there's really only one policy that isn't. I think we see a lot of things from Donald Trump that aren't necessarily conservative, but they're checked by conservatives. And by checked, I mean like balanced, like they're checked by Republicans in Congress. The only thing that we really haven't seen that with is the tariffs. Like that is like far from conservative. His rhetoric on the tariffs is far from conservative, and that just really isn't checked.
And the thing is though that like Trump's record so far has been a lot more Republican establishment-y than the media will say. Right,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking of him as this trailblazer, right? And in some ways he is. He's ruffling the feathers of the political discourse, right? But he's doing a lot of standard Republican things, cutting taxes, deregulation, things like that, right?
you can have a robot do that. I mean, we're at the point where anyone, I think, could be in office.
But on the issue of whether, like, the Republicans that are, like, being embraced by the resistance on the Democratic side, they're against him because of family values and conservative values.
I think that's fair.
That's completely wrong, though, because when you look at the rationale as to why they're opposing Trump, they're opposing him because he's saying mean things, right? They're opposing him because, he's buddy with Vladimir Putin, right? They're not opposing him because he called Mexicans rapists, right? Or he says these outrageous things that you would not want your child, for example, to say if you're somebody who embraces family values.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying like a person shouldn't turn out a party just because of like the words that were said? Like I don't know.
I think what he's saying is that the left is embracing the wrong people, and like the people on the right, like James Comey and whatever Bill Kristol, are coming out against Trump, and the left is embracing them. I like you, even though
they're easy figureheads to take.
Yeah, even though like their policy is so different. I mean, it goes the other way too.
Well,
there's any time that somebody's in favor of Trump, they're completely shunned away.
Yeah.
So I think the left accepts you based on your opinion of Trump entirely, right? Kanye West lost like 11 million
wasn't
followers.
That way? Wasn't it?
when
I
he
feel like
said,
it's
"I'm
always.
pro-Trump."
Isn't it always that way? If
Not
you're
necessarily.
if you're against,
if you were
if you were a Republican and you were kind of sort of for Obama, or you were against Obama, you were embraced, right, as a Republican.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're correct, but like not to this level. I don't think it's like almost militant now.
You don't think it was militant for the first African American president?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think it was this level.
I think it was militant, but not as publicized. You had more angry Republicans.
You didn't have representatives like Maxine Waters. You didn't have Maxine Waters of the right saying if you see
I'll check you with that. You ever heard of Steve King from Iowa?
No.
No? How about Donald Trump questioning Obama's birth certificate?
That's literally not the same thing as Maxine Waters saying if you see any member of this administration in public, you get a crowd and you push them back. It's like the most anti-Western civilized
They're
thing
both
we could
inciting
possibly
a riot.
Well, we also didn't see anyone deny Obama food from a restaurant. I mean, that was the first one for Sarah Huckabee there in that situation.
True.
So
I don't know.
yeah,
I think it's
it's
just
escalated with Trump. I think for sure. But yeah, it's easy for two parties to just there's only two parties to go back and forth and pull figureheads when someone doesn't agree with something to sort of like indict this sort of like partisan battle with each other every time that there's an election cycle. So what I want to hear from you guys at least, and I've talked about this with a few friends, is more parties better? Do we need more representation for our people, or do you think the two parties are doing enough?